right now.
That is so.
And happy hunting season, so I'm in my Blades orange and camouflage owner vest. It's the busiest time of the year right now for car deer accidents.
Oh, yeah.
We'll start off with that when, as you can tell, Stacy, when 911 center goes from 3 car deer accidents a night to 17 in one night and then 30 the next night, you know the mating season started. And caution everybody listening, it's the most dangerous time to be on the roads for the next 3 weeks. The next week and a half in particular, end of October, first week of November is the peak of the mating season, and the male deer are chasing the female deer, and they don't want to get caught, and they're running across roads, and the male deer are a little bit crazy this time of year, so be cautious. Okay, we'll do the roll call. We don't have a quorum here today. Commissioner Mesa is out sick, and Commissioner Frenchco's MIA, of course, so
Mr. Malloy's here.
I'm here. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna continue this as a public meeting anyway, just to share the information, so that Commissioner Frenchco and Commissioner Mesa, who will be listening to this, I'm sure, will at least have the information to make an educated vote tomorrow, even though they're not part of the discussion with it. I'm sure they're listening, as every week, so they'll, get a lot of their questions answered here today. Okay, dispense with the reading of the minutes. We did, come up with something last week. It was challenged by us lately. Commissioner Frenchco said that she voted no on the minutes many, many times. Sometimes she voted yes, sometimes, most of the time, no, because she said she didn't believe they were proper because, they weren't transcribed. But we realized last week that all of our YouTube stuff, every 7 seconds, they transcribe everything we say. So there is a record on there that all we have to do is watch that or print that right off of YouTube, and we have every word said that was heard legibly. And if it's heard by the microphones there, it's the same thing as if someone mumbles and you can't hear it, whether they're taking notes by hand. If you can't hear it, you can't hear it. If it's not in the microphone, if it's not said, if it's not heard correctly, it's not gonna make the minutes anyway, either way. So, if any of us fail to talk into the microphone, it's on us. It shouldn't be part of the minutes anyway. So there is a transcribed version. If someone wanted to read it instead of watch it, they can read it on YouTube. Okay, so dispense with that, approve the bills, and now we're into transfer monies. Christie?
Okay, I was expecting Bob from Sanitary Engineers to be here.
We can wait, let's skip that.
That's okay.
He's not gonna be here.
Okay, we can do
I'm
that.
sorry. Jim and Joel Green both aren't gonna be here today.
Gotcha.
We have a lot of illness going on.
Okay.
This is Christy with the Auditor's Office. Sanitary has a list here of, money transfers. Those have to do with, moving money from their project, their general project fund to a very specific project fund to get started on that. There's also, several in there for reimbursement for general obligation debt, moving from their project fund to Woodrow Tank general obligation. And then, I think that's it for them. And then there's also one listed for the Auditor's Office in relation to the sanitary engineer. I guess that didn't make it onto the agenda, but, we put that in, and that's to pay sanitary engineer's share of the December principal and interest for our debt.
Okay,
And, then the EMA has a money transfer, $20,000 for their annual EMA administration reimbursement, and the health department has, various ones on here for their annual, admin reimbursement.
okay. And I could follow up with sanitary a little better, maybe with Bob later, just to make sure I get more of the specifics from that. Okay, number 4, approve additional appropriations, common pleas, $1,000,
That is due to increase in advertising costs.
okay? And transfer appropriations,
Transfer appropriations, the sheriff's office is, transferring money to fix over budget. They need to increase their, uniforms account. They're also doing one in, Sheriff 213 is a tag. They're, fixing some over budget and they're closing out their grant account. Planning Commission is fixing an over budget to correct a mistake. Veterans, fixing an over budget. They have an increase in telephone and Memorial Day expenses in those accounts. They also have another one due to increase in building and maintenance account. Sanitary engineers is transferring $38,000 for the NECO water meter order. Board of DG is transferring $50,000 that's needed for supplies for schools. Treasurer's office is transferring $796.02 for, postage needed for delinquent tax bills. The dog kennel is transferring $1,000, because they had an increase in their uniforms account. They are also transferring $4,000 also to help with that uniforms account and their vehicle maintenance account. EMA is transferring $2,700. They had an increase needed for building repairs and maintenance. Board of Elections is transferring $3,100, due to conference fees, and the Health Department is transferring $58,000 in various accounts due to increases in equipment maintenance, gasoline, and mailing services.
all right. And that was again,
Christie from the Auditor's Office.
there you go. Okay, number 6, approve an annual payment of $2,500 to Trumbull County Family and Children First Council for fiscal year 2024. Anyone here for them? This is must be an annual fee that we do, is that?
It is. Shara asked me to put that on.
Okay.
They sent it to her, their request.
Number 7, authorize Denny Malloy, President of the Board of Commissioners, to execute on behalf of Trumbull County the 36th renewal of the Victims of Crime Act and the State Victim Assistance Act grant application proposal for the Trumbull County Victim Witness Division of the Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office. This grant is for the period of October 1, 2023 through September 30, 2024. The total proposed amount of the grant is $75,972, with Victims of Crime Act grant monies funding $66,582, and Trumbull County's local required match of $16,644, with an additional $93.90 in the State Victim Assistance Act funds being requested, which requires no match from Trumbull County. This will include continuation of 3 Victim Witness Division employees, along with updated technical equipment, a letter from the prosecutor's office, and the signature was recorded. And that's it. Number 8, adopt a resolution to participate in Operation Greenlight from November 6th to November 12th in Trumbull County. A patriotic tradition to recognize the importance of honoring all those who made immeasurable sacrifices to preserve freedom. Trumbull County Commissioners, together with Trumbull County Veteran Services, are encouraging all Trumbull County employees and their residents to participate in placing green lights in the window of their place of business or residence. And we heard about this initially from Herm, when he was here a couple weeks ago, that this was gonna come up. So we in the county, Bill, I know you're gonna do some green lights with the courthouse, and, anyone listening, you put a green light in your lamppost or whatever out front, you can participate in this also, November 6th through the 12th. Authorize Denny Malloy, President of Trumbull County Board of Commissioners, to execute a letter to the OEPA authorizing Gary Newbrow to submit and sign all necessary National Pollution Discharge Elimination System documents related to Trumbull County's wastewater treatment infrastructure. I'm sure that's something required by law. Number 10, to approve change order number 3 with Pollard Land Service for the Heat and Shoot Sanitary Improvements Project number 5S13. Change order number 3 is a net reduction of $23,656, reducing the total contract value to $2,870,807 as a result of the final calculation of quantities. And, that's always a good thing there, just saved us $23,000 in that project. Number 11, to authorize the Board of Trumbull County Commissioners clerk to advertise for professional qualifications for the design of the Trumbull County Dog Pound Facility for Bill Hart.
Yes, sir, Trumbull County Maintenance Director. Yeah, we wanna move forward with this project to get the design firm to design the building for the new dog pound and get it started.
Okay, give me your, estimated timeline of what's gonna happen now.
Well, once we go on advertisement, they'll come back November 30th or so, give or take the time frame when it goes out. It's gotta go out sooner the better. So by the time we get a qualified engineer to design the project, with Michelle, whoever else wants to be on board to make that happen, by the time we go out and get his fee, get an RFP for construction, possibly maybe end next year, maybe, not sooner, depends on weather.
That's a question we get all the time is,
Yeah, we don't.
when is this gonna happen?
Well, by the time we get the RFQ and design, that's maybe a month or so. Time you go out, get it all downstairs to Bill D'Angelo and review it, whatever, and it takes time, but we're moving.
12, receive and place on file the September and October monthly financial report for Trumbull County Tourism Bureau. Has anything big of an importance this month, anything coming up noteworthy?
We won another state award for completion of our annual report for 2020. We're excited about that. We're tracking results for the first time we participated, Come on, I have a loud enough voice. Everybody should be able to hear me. Don't you think, Tim?
Beth Carmichael, Executive Director, Trumbull County Tourism. We, earlier this month, won a national award for our annual report for 2022, which we're excited about. We're also, for the first time, we did some advertising with Pittsburgh Today Live. We haven't done a lot of advertising in Pittsburgh, and we're tracking those results. We highlighted Julia's Bed and Breakfast in Hubbard, as well as the Peter Allen Inn in Kinsman, and I just heard from them last week, and they've seen nearly 20 reservations just in the last month because of that. So we're continuing to track results on that. And what else are we working on? We're working on our 2024 plans. We've had meetings already about the designs and design potential for our visitor's guide for 2024. We are doing a new website, and so we're moving forward with that. We're working on updating policies, and we are investing in some software that's gonna even do a better job of helping us track our results. So, rocking and rolling at Trumbull Tourism.
All right, with, regards to Halloween, is there still some of the hay rides and pumpkin farms and stuff still open today?
Everything is pretty much finished. Anything that people wanna do for Halloween is really trick or treat in their own communities. So pretty much, based on last weekend.
Number 13, adopt a resolution authorizing declarations of official intent under U.S. Treasury regulations with respect to reimbursements from securities, proceeds of temporary advances made for payment prior to issuance of securities and related matters.
I'm gonna let Christie address this, but we have talked a little bit about this for a couple of different workshops. The idea that in order to save a little bit of money on borrowing, that we hold off to borrow until March when we have other notes that we have to roll over. And in order to do that, as we come up with certain expenses, for some of these projects that we're going to borrow for as capital improvements, we want to be able to advance that money and then later reimburse ourselves from the proceeds of the loan. And this has to be done in order to do that, and Christie can fill in a few details. And I didn't say it well enough.
As Christie Auditor's Office, Martha, filled in most of it. This is for the recommendation of our, financial advisor and bond counsel. This resolution was done up by our bond counsel. The representative for it is Blake Fiedler. I can't remember the name of the company right at the moment, drawing a blank. But, is you'll pass this once, and then as we need it for the project, we'll complete, Appendix A, which I don't believe was in the. Exhibit, I keep saying Appendix A, but Exhibit A in the back for each project as we borrow the money from ourselves with the intention to pay it back. Here's a few copies. And then the commissioners would approve each Exhibit A for each project. But the resolution is, authorizing the commissioners to do that on a project-for-project basis.
Okay.
And then, if it's okay, this is, again, Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. Christy had some updates that I'd like to let her do now, rather than wait to the end so that she can get back upstairs
Okay.
upstairs.
Is there an agenda item that goes with it, or just?
No, just
general update?
just some updates that we would do at the end, but I'd like to have her do it.
If I can, I don't wanna interject, but there are some things that I wanted to make the auditor's office aware of a meeting that this is Alexandra Josie Bush, Human Resources Director. It's a mouthful. I had a meeting with Corsa yesterday, and I wanna make sure I update you while we're planning for budget for 2024. I need to update you on some numbers that we need to look at.
Okay, sounds good. This is in relation to the Dog Kennel Fund, Fund 10. Right now, there is a negative cash balance in there of a little over $126,000. Let me, sorry. First page is a little summary, and the, second and third pages are, by account detail, more of a summary. So as I said, right now, there's a negative fund or cash balance there of a little over $126,000. We are estimating, November and December receipts will be about $48,000, and their estimated additional payroll needed through the end of the year is a little over $93,000. This is gonna put them in a negative, end-of-year cash balance of about $173,000 approximately. I believe that Michelle with the dog kennel is going to be addressing you with this very specifically later, but we wanted to make you aware of what is going on right now.
Any reason for it? Just, is it a budgeting thing, or overrunning something, or?
I don't believe it's a budgeting thing. They were, in the negative last year, at the end of last year, and they did get a transfer from the general, or from the, I think sales tax, I don't believe it's general fund. There are increases in, payroll. I did, on the second and third page, I have, 2023 to date actual numbers, and then if you go over to the far right, it's 2022 actual as of the year end. So there are some areas where there are increases in the expenses.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor. I want to note that, I've mentioned a couple of times that we have a difficulty with compliance on dog licenses. It hasn't really been paid much attention to over the last couple of years. And so unfortunately, we've had a decrease in revenue on those, and we, as my administrative assistant says, we don't have any fewer dogs. It's about compliance. And so one of the things that we're trying to do moving forward to assist with that is to work together with the dog, as we have the dog licensing software that we've talked about, that we're I think pretty close to completely implementing. And that should help with compliance, because folks it will make it easier for people to comply. We are also working on increasing our vendors who do dog licenses. Kathy Hayda and I were together with Michelle on Sunday at the Pups and Pumpkins event for Metro Park. So we got to interact with some dog owners there, and it was an opportunity for us to start working together with them so that we can kind of work on increasing revenue, increasing donations. We're adding a donation line to the dog license form, so that if people want to give, a lot of people aren't really aware that the dog license revenue goes for the dog pound. And so we're trying to increase awareness on that. We'll be doing some social media stuff, things like that, to really work on increasing that revenue. It's a situation where it's just kind of been really underfunded, kind of neglected for a few years. So we're trying to do our best to try to help them with that. But in the meantime, they're going to need this.
When I was doing this summary, I was estimating that, again, Christie, the auditor's office, I was estimating the November and December receipts, and I went back a few years, and I was just kind of going to do like an average. But I didn't, I went with the last year receipts because the few years before that, the receipts were so high, and they significantly went down. So to be conservative, I went with the 48,000 instead of doing the average over the last 4 years because those years were so much higher.
Okay.
Commissioner Denny, I wanna make sure that we talk about Alexandra DiVincenzi Bush, Human Resources Department. We're over specifically in payroll, because they did hire an additional employee over the last year. They knew going into that would put them over in payroll. They're already significantly under budget. I mean, the budget's not high enough.
Yeah, but didn't they lose one too?
They lost one, but they hired one, and then they had another. So I can attest, I've been out there multiple times. I actually go out to watch their operations and view their operations in my travels as I've been to other departments. They are in need of every single person they have there. To say that right now, I would say they're still understaffed. They have double, triple dogs in crates. These employees are out there, and I don't mean to put this so bluntly, shoveling poop. I mean, they are in those crates cleaning every day. There's 2 cleaners. I watch them. It's phenomenal what these people do. They're operating in an extremely small space. It's unfeasible. And I want to make sure that I call this out again, going into, Mike Delbona, I was on the street. They're on call 24/7. They get called on nights and on weekends, similar to 911. I mean, if there's a stray dog, they go out, and I admire that department for what they do. Also, I want to advocate that they have very little office space. When it comes to budgeting, they share their break room is their office space with the computer, with the clock in, clock out, where they give dogs away. I mean, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. So this new pound is extremely warranted, and I can't wait till we get there. But also, while we're having the conversation now, we need to make sure that we're budgeting appropriately for 2024, knowing that.
Correct,
Yeah.
but we've had some discussion with Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, some discussion with Michelle. One of the things, we were concerned about is the move-in and all of that, but when we look at the timeline, it won't be 24. But we are definitely asking all of our departments,
Yeah.
all of our public officials to budget realistically.
Right.
Obviously, we will need to go through that, but we want folks to not just say, well, we'll figure it out at the end. We're not gonna do that
No.
next year. But we are asking for realistics, and Christy, bless her, has just been working really hard with all of our department heads and all of our public officials, not just to help them get these budgets in order, but also to educate them on how to do it going forward. So, she's been great, and Michelle has been really proactive in talking to us, and we're working with teaching her how to do some things as well. So, we know we're gonna need more money, and that's one of the reasons we're trying to work really hard on compliance and donations. This is an area where people will give to. And like I said, if they know that their dog license fees will go for that, they're going to be compliant. People don't, a lot of times they're just not aware. As I've posted stuff on social media about dog licensing, I'll have people go, oh, it's just another tax, I'm like, it all goes for the pound. That's what it's for. It's for the dogs. So I think partnering with AWL is gonna be great.
Will be a huge benefit.
Again, it's that whole not working in silos, working together stuff. I think, I can see us doing a really good job with this going forward. But right now, this is what we need to do.
But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and just to wrap this up, they have 7 employees there, 7, that's it. So you can imagine, for example, and I hate to use this, but when COVID came up again recently, 2 months ago, they were down to 2 employees. I mean, there cannot be nobody running that staff. I was to the point where I was gonna go out there and put on some waders and start shoveling, dog crap.
Well,
So,
and to that, we had set up a meeting between Michelle and I and Kathy Hayda, and she couldn't come to the meeting because
she was
understaffed. She had to work. So it is a really difficult, one thing that they have going for them is they have a strong base of support among citizens and volunteer
Volunteers,
organizations, and
amazing
Voices of the
volunteers.
Pound is great. They were there with us on Sunday. So there's a lot of good people that everybody loves dogs.
yeah.
I think they do, at least. So we've got that, but we need to figure out how to capitalize on it and work with folks in the community to do it.
All right. Moving on, number 14. Concur with Trumbull County Engineer to grant quarterly operator fleet permit, travel upon load posted Trumbull County roadways. Mountain Run Forestry. Number 15, concur with Trumbull County Engineer to grant special hauling permit to all steel coils, Jarrow Transportation. And concur with Trumbull County Engineer to grant the right-of-way permits requested by the companies listed: Dominion East, Byler's Business Service, Northeast Ohio Natural Gas Corps, James Palmer, Peggy Kekich, and Miller Yount Paving. 17, concur with Trumbull County Engineer to grant special annual supplier fleet permit for fleet vehicles to transport aggregate, concrete, construction goods, and other materials. Garth Boner Trucking and Excavating. 18, reappoint Mr. Thomas Conley to serve as a member of the Workforce Development Board for an additional 3-year period. He's president of the Greater Youngstown Urban League. And then 19, reappoint Don Oakman as a member of the Workforce Development Board, as president of Don Inc. Reappoint Aaron Konasek, vice president for Randstad USA. 21, reappoint Ms. Tia Tolles, director of placement and career coaching for Generator Skills Accelerator. Reappoint Melissa Capel, CEO of United Network Alliance. 23, appoint Ms. Jerry Jenkins, executive director for My Path Mahoning Valley. Appoint John Sofranco, business rep for Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio Regional Council of Carpenters. Appoint Wiley Runenstrand, partner with Sapienda Ventures. To appoint Sarah Doherty, she's chief of staff of Bright. And do you have anything to say on any of these, Bim?
No, I just think all these, the reappointments as well as the new ones fit a niche for what we need. Push the workforce services out, and I have some attachments.
How many applied that did not get appointed? How many?
Got them all in.
So everyone that was
Yep.
reappointed, everyone that
Yeah, we had,
that applied though for an appointment got it,
one
nobody.
resignation, Mr. Sofranco's, gentleman, I can't think of his name, called Bim Turner, Workforce Development for Trumbull County. He had resigned because he took on new duties, and Mr. Sofranco has stepped up, fills it with, organized labor, so.
Okay. Should be, tomorrow, could we do those all as one, or is that something we're gonna read each individual one?
You.
Think each individual one?
Yeah, it's their individual items.
Okay, we'll do that then. Just asking.
It's a good question.
And I do think we still have one more board member to put on the mental health board, and we've got 3 or 4 coming up.
Planning.
We've got 3 or 4 coming up on, senior levy services, and planning will have probably a couple. I don't know if anyone's planning on leaving there or not wanting to be reappointed on that one. Well, if that's Julie on that. But we do post these things when they do come up, and this was posted, Ben, I imagine, somewhere.
Yes, it was.
Okay. So we encourage anyone that wants to be involved in county government or serving their community, watch for these board seats, because we will consider everybody. All right, number 27, authorized transfer of Mr. Bailey Slick, custodian, building maintenance department, pay range 3, 1708, to the position of building inspection trainee at the building inspection department, pay range 4, 1842, effective Monday, October 30th. And that's in response to an authorized job posting that we had. 2 union bids received pursuant to the AFSCME collective bargaining agreement, first bid with more seniority shadowed and chose not to take the job. Therefore, Mr. Slick, job shadow, will be taking the position. So, Bill, I imagine you'll have to fill his position then eventually?
Yes, we'll have a janitor's job available at some point.
Okay. Timeframe on that?
We're still gonna hire one that we posted, actually, that's coming next week, I do believe, right, Alex?
Next week, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have
next
somebody in the
weekend,
position.
So we'll have one open still.
Okay. Now, will you go from the interviews you already did for that one, or are you gonna
No.
post it again, brand new again?
Post it brand new again,
Okay,
according to the CBA.
gotcha. All right, 28, approve the Consolidated Budget Reconciliation Act, COBRA rates, effective January 1 and December 30th. Alex, you wanna
Yeah.
talk about this?
This is a big item that I kind of warned you about last week. Wasn't trying to be doom and gloom, but I have to be transparent, especially while everybody's talking about doing budgets for 2024. So essentially, I want to kind of bring you along the evolution. So the COBRA rates, go up and up and up and up every year. For the past, I'm actually going to give commissioners a nice little packet. Over the past, since 2018, the rates have gone up 19.9%. What Trumbull County has been is locked in at 2018 rates. So that means that 19.9% we have been, eating as a self-funded employer. So we're paying that ourselves. We're not charging that back to the employees. The reason for that is because it's in the contract. So, somehow, some way, in negotiations, in the past, they included health insurance in there and they locked in their rates. So basically, everything was stagnant over the 3 years that they are in a CBA. So what that means is we're still on 2018 rates. What we're seeing happening is we had a reserve of $6 million in our healthcare account, and we are seeing that being depleted slowly but surely, obviously, because we're paying a lot more as the employer in insurance. So what we need to do is we need to start upping our rates. So we are going to, our insurance broker, Rossi, suggested that we go with the full Monty COBRA rates. That'll affect 13 employees. They're not tied to any CBA because they're not current employees. So maybe there's a change in, I can give you the exact reasons why they're on COBRA, but we're not gonna go into that here. So, and that's gonna be our,
Explain COBRA a little bit, because when I hear COBRA from you, I'm thinking that's like, when you leave work, you can pay for your insurance, you go through COBRA.
yeah, it is. So we offer it for 36 months for employees, and I can give you the exact reasons why. So COBRA is a federally mandated program that allows you to continue your medical, dental, and vision benefits based on the following qualifying events. So whether somebody was terminated or reduction in hours of employment, a death of a covered employee, or a covered employee becomes eligible for Medicare. So the covered employee of one or more qualified dependents, so people on COBRA could be a spouse that we're paying for, not necessarily an employee, but a spouse or a child or so on and so forth. We typically offer, within 60 days, the qualifying event for divorce, legal separation, or a child's loss of dependent status on another plan. So COBRA is limited to 36 months. So employees can only be on this, or past employees, for 36 months. So what we're saying is we're gonna start with this. We're gonna start upping the COBRA rates to where they should be for 2024. And then, long story short, you can anticipate that as we're doing contract negotiations, as I'm doing contract negotiations, you're gonna see these costs creep into the reality of what employees are paying for insurance. So that's the goal.
So this doesn't affect current employees?
Not yet.
This year yet, okay.
Not yet. It does affect 13 people, though, who are on COBRA in the county, just so you're clear.
Approve new chargeback rates to be assessed to departments participating in the health insurance plans offered by the commissioners, commencing January 1, 2024 through December 2024. And
So this is,
chargeback, what's that?
Alexandra DiVincenzi Bush, Human Resources Director, sorry. This is also, so we charge every year, well, per month. This is what the department heads are gonna need to use to budget for their insurance for their employees for 2024. So we wanted to get this out ASAP, so that way when the department heads are doing their budgets, they know that this is what you're going to be including. You need to look at your employees and understand whether you have a single employee or a family plan employee. That's how you budget appropriately. With that being said, these are the department rates that we charge back to each department. So for example, I'm gonna use the auditor's office. If we have, 200 employees, I'm just throwing out a number, on insurance, we are charging them this amount per employee, whether they're on a single or family plan, to try to recoup that money. So it's on a departmental line versus just it's all coming out of one budget,
Right.
okay?
Is this an increase from last year?
It is,
How
yep,
much?
a little bit.
Well, do you know the numbers that we're paying now?
Well, I'd have to, I mean, I don't have them on. me, but,
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll find out.
Yep, it's an increase, so bottom line is you gotta use these numbers for budgeting for 2024. I wanna say it's about $60 in the single, don't quote me, and I believe it's maybe 100 some in the family, so,
Okay.
yeah,
Per year,
per month,
per month.
yeah. This is a monthly charge, and that's highlighted here, just in case anybody, it's a monthly charge for employees. So basically, what this shows you is this is how much we're paying. So when you think about this, we're paying $888 per employee for a single plan. They're paying $100 a month. So think about that. We are assuming 80% of the cost, roughly, of that insurance plan. That is a hell of a deal, okay? But that's where we gotta start to kind of up to date more, so.
And Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, and I think I expressed this when we've talked about it, our employees get a really good plan,
Very good.
and they're not paying as, you know, my son, who it's based on income for his, because we just started working on this, he's gonna be paying what I've been paying to have him
Mhm.
on my coverage,
For
and
single.
he's not, for a single,
Yeah.
and he's not getting nearly as much being covered. His plan is not, the only, because he works for CVS, the only good part is probably the prescription. That's really the best part of it. But they're not, and theirs is based on, what they pay is based on how much they make, which is different from us. So, that's actually, because he's entry level, he's on the low end of what they're paying for.
The sliding scale.
Yeah, and so he's not gonna get the kind of benefits that we give our employees, that he has under me right now.
Okay.
Our employees are very lucky. I definitely want to stress this. When we talk about reasons to work at Trumbull County, I mean, you're looking at it right here. So our benefit packages are like no other, I can tell you that. I've worked through our insurance broker. I mean, we are top notch. We're actually even better than the cities. So, it's a good thing, but we also are stuck in 2018. So we need to kind of get up to date a little bit more on what people are paying for insurance.
What happens with families, if there's two members of the same family work for the county, or
They have to choose.
someone's spouse has better insurance, can they opt out of this?
So currently in our policy, these are things that
We know they get.
Yeah. I wasn't really ready, to discuss, but I will, things that we need to look at. So currently, we offer it to everybody. We even offer it to stepchildren, which is not very common anywhere else either. So you can be an insurance policy holder here, and we can insure your stepchildren. Long story short, if you have two people in the same household, one person has to take the coverage, and it goes by whoever's birthday's first. So it's two within the county. Then also, to answer your other question, I think you said what was your other question?
If a spouse makes more than you, has a better insurance plan with their employer, can you opt out, or you have to take the insurance and pay for it?
No, you can go, so I'm a prime example. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys, I'm not on our county insurance. I save us countless of dollars. I'm on my husband's who works for the state, so no, you can, there's no rule that says you have to accept this insurance.
Do we
Actually-
compensate that employee anything for not
No,
taking
you
it?
don't, for non-bargaining. No, you don't. We do compensate bargaining employees, $75 at 911, $150 at, other departments, and that's all through their CBA. So they get a $150 stipend, I'll call it a month.
That's it?
That's it. And non-bargaining gets nothing.
That may want to be addressed within when we do the
I will,
CBAs,
yeah.
to kind of encourage people.
I would love to address that.
But it does save us
It does
Yeah.
save us.
not having to pay for insurance for
Well,
that
sure, I
person.
mean, if you look at a single, if we're paying $150 a month versus the $888 we're paying, you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's a huge cost savings, or cost avoidance, I guess, is how you would look at it, especially when you get to the family plan. So for myself, you know, I obviously have a family, I'm with my husband, I'm saving the county $2,400 a month. Mhm. Probably a lot of things nobody wanted to know about today. Surprise!
30, authorize Board of Commissioners clerk to advertise for requests for qualifications, statements from professional firms for the purpose of conducting a feasibility analysis to provide recommendations for the development and renovation of a new public safety dispatch center. Trumbull County 911, in coordination with other county officials, will rank and select the most qualified firm to perform the feasibility analysis and authorize Trumbull County 911 to enter negotiations with the most qualified firm to develop a final price proposal for the necessary professional services. Deadline will be Friday, December 1st, delivered in sealed envelopes, Trumbull County Board of Commissioners. The attachment will be posted on Trumbull County's Commissioners website, Demand Star, and Trumbull 911 website.
Casey Vaughn, 911. So this is just the RFQ for the qualification statements for our feasibility study. To look at the three potential 911 sites, that'd be the Pine Street building in Warren, the Gibson building in Warren, and also the Cortland Bank building. Do a feasibility study on what we need to do for electric, radio towers, all the encompassing, networking and everything that would be needed, along with preliminary design, renderings and go forward. This would also allow us, once we do negotiate with the firm that we pick, to go into potentially them being like project management of that potential project and all the design related aspects of it. Everything's already gone through legal. I worked with Bill, so everything is good to go there. So we're looking forward to get rolling on that while we have some momentum and hopefully potentially a new home in the next.
And it says in here, in coordination with other county officials, will rank and select the most qualified firm. That would be the 911 board.
Being that we don't have a board seated yet, I would assume that the commissioners would have involvement in that potential project. That kind of left it open to be however we want to proceed.
Should we form the new board, or should we?
We're in the process of that. I'm working with you as well on the recommendations for who would fill those seats.
And that'll be something we'll journal entry in here, of what the parameters are for it, and
Yes, as soon as we
then
can get the final
decide
idea.
from there.
Yes. Ideally, with these, quotes coming in, or these qualification statements coming in December, we would have time to potentially get that board at least seated, or at least
Right.
know who's gonna be involved, to bring them involved and have discussion on,
November's tomorrow, so it should be the next couple of weeks, we should be
correct.
having this. Okay?
Yep.
Very good. Number 31, enter an agreement with municipalities listed for services for public defender's office. Okay, this here, is an annual thing that we do,
Yeah.
but last year, Village of Lordstown contested what they were paying. They met with, the public defender's office representatives and still have an answer yet on why they're paying more than Cortland, Hubbard, and McDonald, based on the number of cases they had. So I really don't wanna move forward with this until we rectify the challenge they had last year on why their bill is what it is. We haven't got an answer for it yet, and nobody could say other than somewhere in the past, that's the price they came up with, and we just keep billing you the same amount. So we need to figure this out. Mr. Blank, from Lordstown has called quite a few times to me, wanting to know if we figured out his bill yet and why. He wants an answer, and if we went ahead and redid this again without figuring out why he's being billed that much now, it would be irresponsible. So I don't know if we wanna pull this off the agenda or table it, but we need to get an answer,
These are
from the
established
public.
by the public defender, not
Right.
our office.
Right, and we sat in with a woman from the public defender's office. She had to call Columbus, and they were gonna get back with her with an answer they didn't know, and we never got a reply back from her yet, or nor did the Village of Lordstown.
Martha, you're a Trumbull County auditor, do you have contact information that somebody could forward to me and I can look into it,
Sure.
please?
But it would just be premature to go ahead and rebuild on the same amount again this year when they're still not happy with what they got billed last year and it hasn't been resolved yet.
All right.
And I don't see, yeah, I see Warren in there, but, we really didn't have an answer for any of them on how they came to these numbers. These are just numbers that somewhere in the past was the numbers they came up with, and with Lordstown made a good case as far as the number of cases they had were minimal that needed it, and, there was just no rhyme or reason to why they were getting that amount. It doesn't sound like much, 2,100, but he made a good case that Tell me why it's 2,100, nobody could. So this may be something I think to table tomorrow, or,
Remove, you want me to remove it for now?
well, I'm just one commissioner, so I can't
Yeah.
do that right now, so,
Okay.
I would probably make a motion tomorrow to table it if we
Okay.
don't have it rectified by tomorrow. All right, that concludes all of the agenda business. Anyone have anything else for the good of Trumbull County?
Yeah,
Gary.
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Commissioners, I mentioned to you, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks ago about some training that the commissioners are gonna have to take in order for us to get principal forgiveness, on our loans, and I've been working, trying to set up these accounts with you. And each commissioner is supposed to get an email from, let me see here. From Great Lakes Community Action Partnership, and that'll lead you, will give you the instructions on how to get to training. Okay, so be aware that there's an email that's supposed to be coming for each of the commissioners.
Can you reach out and have them copy you, so when it comes in, you know that that's something to notify all of us that, hey, here's what I'm talking about, you need to pay attention to this one?
Yeah.
Not that I don't read my emails, as I do, but I don't want that to be used
Okay.
anywhere that
All
I
right.
didn't see an email or I didn't get it.
Okay, well, it says they will receive an email from iSpring with their account information. There is 1 month to complete. If more time is needed, just reach out to me. Okay, so, all right, I'll respond back and tell them, please copy me on the email that you send to them so I can remind them.
Right, and if you call me, then I could bring it up at a meeting and say, we got the email, here it is, this date, this time,
All
we
right.
need to act on this.
Okay.
We definitely don't wanna hold anything up or cost any type of funding.
Well, it would cost us about $2.5 million if you didn't do it. So it's important.
One other thing too, we did have our first, transportation, meeting, the TID meeting, went over really well. Mr. Stevens has appointed, Chuck George as the non-voting sixth member of the board. So he'll be in attendance at our next meeting that we have. It's a advisory slot, non-voting, but he can represent the business community well. Also, there were some comments made after the last meeting that we had missed funding already. It already cost $250,000, we missed funding. We did not miss any funding. There are no projects identified to go forth with the state. When we formed the TID, the way that we did was the quickest way to do it, and if we'd have had the other route with 13 members, it would not even have been formed by now, based on their council meetings, and unless they all would've, every entity would've reacted with emergency meetings to do it, which they weren't gonna do over a TID. So the comments that were made to the press and publicly and on social media, that this TID already cost $250,000 is totally false. There's a whole process to go through. Mr. Kinnick is on Mahoning County's board and our board, and he reconfirmed with me, they had a TID meeting on Monday. We didn't miss anything with the time frame that we were in. We had nothing ready, and there is, even when we do delineate what projects we're gonna put forth, there's gonna be a time frame needed to do that, and there's no way in hell we would have been able to do that based on when we started with this TID. So when we started, the idea of it, and we enacted it, was within 2 weeks, and if we'd have done it that day, we still wouldn't have been able to get the time frame needed for this last entry over last year. Our next entry is due by March. We're gonna hit it, and we'll have meetings, 3 meetings before then, to delineate projects and get the application ready to go and move forward so that we do hit the March deadline, which is the reasonable one. Just because we didn't hit last one, or the last year's, or the year before that, is not on this Board of Commissioners' fault, that there were things in the past when we didn't have a TID in place. So,
Okay.
those remarks were very irresponsible.
All right.
Martha?
Just a couple things. First of all, I want, just for the public, for clarification, the TID is the Transportation Improvement District. It has nothing to do with transit.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of confusion out there, people thinking that that's what this is about. When we talk about transportation, we talk about transit, moving people, we also talk about roads and infrastructure, and this is more about the infrastructure,
It is.
funding for that.
Improving traffic patterns and improving transportation
Right.
patterns, not means.
Right. And so the second thing is, and I'm taking off my auditor hat, I'm putting on my TID hat. And, at the TID meeting, we talked about, the delineation and how it is a separate body from from county government. And I was requested as Secretary Treasurer of the board to talk to Mr. Danzo about some specifics on that. Also, it was and I did that yesterday, and it was mentioned within the TID meeting, about waiving privilege on a letter that was done from the prosecutor's office to the Board of Commissioners. However, because it was at the TID meeting and not at one of the commissioners' meetings, we don't have that privilege waived, and we really do need it in order to move forward, because it will provide some clarification for me. So I was going to ask you and Commissioner Cantala Mesa to do that today. I will, at the end of the meeting tomorrow, ask you to waive privilege so that I can get that letter and waive privilege not just for me, but for the other members of the board. All right, so I will do that tomorrow. As auditor, Mr. Danzo is also preparing a letter for me, which I will also waive privilege on, so that the board is aware of all of our restrictions, and we can move forward and make sure that we do that in a legal and compliant manner as possible.
Okay,
Right?
perfect.
All right, Commissioner Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer, was I supposed to be at the TIM meeting?
Not that one, this was just.
Okay, all right, I didn't get any specific.
I did make comments in the past, it's the
Okay,
Commissioner Orr's representative, and I needed to be there, at least the first one to get it going. If there were times when I'm not, you know, I had asked if you would
okay.
sit in and represent the
Okay.
board's seat on that, but.
Okay.
Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, I will also just kind of add you to that list so that you're aware of everything that's going on,
Okay,
all right?
sounds good.
And the main reason being with that is, with these transportation improvement things, if we make turning lanes, widen roads, things like that, there are gonna be sanitary issues involved with that.
And water.
In water, so you have to be in the loop of it at least. And we will keep you in the loop with that 100% with everything that we do. But to attend, they're public meetings. We had Commissioner Frenchco and Commissioner Cantala Mesa sit in on the last meeting. And, you know, that'll be encouraged if we're gonna move forward together and do these things for the good of the public, we need everyone to pay attention that needs to pay attention to this thing so we can move quickly. Stacy?
Real quick, just one last thing, Casey Bond, 911. I had mentioned to you previously, I was kind of tasked with raising our rates for what we charge agencies that we dispatch for. Also, the Warren contract is up for negotiation again. They've had extensions for the last few years. When looking at the numbers, we kind of presented them with the police and fire chiefs a couple weeks ago. Based on the 911 final plan, it was supposed to be a call for service rate plus an increase of the CPI every year, reviewed annually. Unfortunately, the 911 board has not been seated quite some time, so we're trying to get that re-implemented so we can follow that 911 plan and get things adjusted going forward and rewrite everything. But in the meantime, we're not collecting money that owed to us for the last 10 years, rates haven't been raised. What I did is I went back those 10 years and I looked at the CPI for the last 10 years based on the unit agency's call for service and kind of extrapolated that out into a spreadsheet. And basically, we've lost 30% in income over the last 10 years, which is huge for 911. Obviously, we're bleeding money in overtime and staffing and equipment needs and whatnot. Presented it to the police and fire departments, and it went over as suspected like a lead balloon because nobody can afford a 30% increase in a year. So my recommendation would be to move forward with a 10% increase this year, next year, and the next year, which would give almost back up to probably current rate. And it's not such a big hit for them. For example, like Bezetta PD would have been at close to $2,500 per month. This increase would take them to $2,750. Not a huge number, but it is enough to bring up some added, income to the department. Basically, it would be an increase of about $283,000 for 911 for this next year if we go forward with the 10%. That would allow us to hopefully buy some needed equipment. I know obviously we're potentially moving into another site, but we currently have equipment that is on its last leg, and we're gonna need something to limp us along for at least the next year and a half or however long it would take to move to a new building if we're so fortunate to get that. Additionally, I sat down with Warren City last week to kind of see where they were at with their contract. As you had stated before with some of the other numbers that you guys were looking at, nobody knows how they came to that number before. What I do know from talks with them and talks with Patty is that we absorbed 6 dispatchers from the city of Warren when we took them on. Their contract language basically says that they will have 2 dedicated dispatchers, which I would assume would be 2 for first, second, and third shift. However, they are not getting that 2 dedicated dispatchers because we do not have the staffing levels to warrant to apply that right now. So obviously, they don't wanna continue paying what they're paying if they're not getting the 2 dedicated, but yet they understand that we absorbed 6, and that's kind of where we're going. So where we went with it was we took the base wages for 6 dispatchers, came up with that number, which is the base, and then instead of charging them $7 for call for service like we do everybody else, $3.50 for call for service because they're at 30,000 calls per year. What that does to their number, it would take their contract from $623,184 per year to $631,839, so about a $8,600 increase. Not a huge increase, but you also don't wanna bleed everybody dry.
Right.
They're not getting the service that they thought they were getting with 2 dedicated dispatchers because of staffing. I think they're okay with that. Talked with Eddie, wanted to see where the commissioners are with that, and then also need to work with Bill on restructuring the language of the contract, because obviously, right now, we're in violation of it by not giving them the 2 that's dedicated. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to kind of wrap this all up and present it as an agenda item and kind of go forward with your blessing. That way they can get it to their budget people before they start doing budget talks, and we can get this out there.
I'm totally okay with it, but I would bring it up tomorrow at the end of the meeting again when we have a second. But I think that's the right path you're taking. I like the breaking it up over 3, and anyone that's gonna complain about funding the police, funding emergency services, I'd have a problem with anyway. It's one of the things the board has shown, we're not gonna defund the police ever, and we gotta include you in that, because you're part of the process with that, and you need to be funded. I know from statements made from other commissioners, they wanna make sure every cost is covered, whether it's a school resource officer, or whether it's a police department wanting dispatch services. We need to recoup our costs on that, and that's kind of been the consensus, that, that the citizens, it's their money, they owe it to pay for that service. We can't just absorb that.
All right.
So,
Thank you.
good stuff. Yes, sir.
Roger Peterson, Bloomfield Township trustee. I just wanted to get back as a reminder of, I know with the art money, you've got 5 hands reaching out for every 1 hand available, and I totally get it. I know how hard the process has gotta be. I know there's a huge amount of very good projects out there. I just wanted to remind everybody about our request for the township of just over $200,000 to put an addition on our fire station, with Bloomfield Township contributing an additional $100,000. If you flip into that packet, which I brought one for each commissioner, sometimes we make a joke when we come back to the station that Bloomfield is back in the barn. Well, if you look at the pictures, we literally are back in the barn. We store our medic truck in an unheated, unsecure, dirt floor building that is a barn. So this addition would allow us to put an addition on our station to where we can actually house our medic truck and make things a whole lot easier and a lot secure, improving our response to our community, as well as all the neighboring townships in Northwest Ohio where there's already an ambulance shortage. So, wanted to say good morning, happy Halloween, happy bow hunting, and thank you. And I really don't envy the commissioner's position with trying to divvy up this money. But I just wanted to say hello and.
Thank you.
All right.
Jim, $215,000 for an addition to house an ambulance. He clearly has her in a barn. Kinsman wanted to house their police cars, it was denied. Bristol wanted to house some vehicle equipment, it was just recently denied. How do you think this will fit in as far as the legality through Tanya, based on those other 2?
Well, she doesn't give the official opinion, but I think it'd be a tough sell. Not because it's not warranted,
Right.
just whether or not it's allowable under the ARPA and federal
Just making that clear to you, because we did, Kinsman, their police cars are basically housed in an old Division of Wildlife Net Center where they used to repair.
Division of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand.
Coming from in
Comment.
Bloomfield,
Better than anyone.
loses a lot of tax base, but, Yeah, and it was basically just a makeshift police garage, and that was not viewed as legal by the council. So this is something we could take and put it through.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think it's a worthy project myself, but it would take, of course, another commissioner to push
Well,
it through.
just FYI, Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, you know, you have that little small list that's maybe but legal opinion, that's on that list.
Right.
So just
But this
letting you
is
know.
better clarification, when you literally,
And if you wanna send me whatever you've
when you
got,
literally look at where they keep their
right,
ambulance,
our medic truck.
yeah,
and we're working our
it's
way,
like Dukes of Hazzard stuff.
right,
It's a pretty barn.
when, if you wanna just send me a digital copy, I will add that to the application.
You have that?
So we have it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he knows how to use it. But,
Yeah, this will help, I think, when she looks at it, this may be in the,
and
the
we'll
third
add
floor,
it.
it's
Now,
not,
just FYI, because we are working, you know, we have a lot of the, and we'll kind of get to that when I give a little bit of the briefing on it. But, there's an order that you've kind of established in last week's, workshop as far as, request and getting the legal opinions. And at this point, Attorney Rogers has the TNP request along with the additional information, because you guys the board prioritized that at the workshop as the next thing you wanted a legal opinion on because of the deadline for the grant on that.
Right.
Then,
and I did talk to him yesterday, just to bring that up while you're on that,
okay,
with the TNP grant. There were Warren addresses on there, Niles and Gerard addresses, when he said it was all county ones.
right,
And I stressed to him, and he was going to reach out to you today, thank you. Here's the new list.
This is kind of the list, it is the list we provided.
Name first.
Ashley Yuva's, Trumbull County Land Bank. This is the list we provided, this is actually, it is being tweaked kind of like every day, based on talk with the townships and what they can get approved and get the paperwork back for me. The warrant addresses that are on this list, those are township addresses. Warren City is not included in this list
right.
because I'm talking to them on Friday to finalize this list.
Oh, these
So,
Hubbard Township or Hubbard City?
Hubbard City and Township are included on this.
Okay.
Ashley, Martha Yoder, Trumbull County Auditor, is this the same as what, was emailed to me last week? Or
Yes,
is it-
with,
okay.
that's just like one or two
All right.
minor edits.
That's what's been sent on to the legal.
Yes,
All right.
and we, talked to her, I believe, yesterday, to give her a little bit of clarification
Okay.
on some things she had
Okay,
asked about.
that's good.
But I wanted to just give you guys
Right.
that.
So we have that listed, the TNP, Mr. Misaki has made it really clear to Attorney Rogers that that's like the first thing and very important because of the timeline. And then after that, we had on and I'm going to give you an updated yes list today, but on the yes list, which is, people need to understand that that's sort of a tentative yes list, it's dependent upon the legal opinions. A lot of people, there's been some misunderstanding with that yes list, that means they're absolutely going to go forward. Well, unfortunately, we have to wait for legal opinions. That's what that yes means.
Right.
So on that yes list, there are, items that are highlighted in gold because those were ones that were, that had already been sent to the attorney prior to the pause. And there were items that were highlighted in red because those were approved to send, but were not sent. So those, and I believe she has all of those now. So those would be after the TNP request. And then after that one is the Eastgate 1.5 million for broadband. So that's what you guys, the two of you last week at the workshop decided as a priority, and that's what's been communicated to the attorney.
Thank you, Roger.
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer, as long as we're talking about our, Julie Green had a question, and she wanted me to ask it. We have to have the fund encumbered by the end of 2024, or just the resolution saying it's earmarked?
We have to be encumbered,
So we have to have the contracts in place by the end of next year.
Yeah, that's.
For anything we're gonna spend it on, because that just comes into play with our countywide connections to our sewer systems, the Scott Street project, all this other stuff. So we just gotta know that we have a deadline
Start
out
moving
there.
on
Yeah.
some of these, yeah.
That we actually have to encumber it
point.
by the end of, next year.
Yeah.
It's a very
Okay.
good point, Gary.
All right.
Bill Hart.
Commissioner Bill Hart, Trumbull County Maintenance, I was hoping there'd be a quorum here today, but, I don't know if one commissioner can add an agenda item, I don't remember the rules anymore. I have my grading papers for the Hive Engineers roof and the Trumbull County Stone Building that I'd like to have had on the agenda for tomorrow, if possible. If not, it'll have to wait till next week.
You bring it up at the end of the meeting tomorrow is what we're gonna have to do.
Okay. If not, I could just put it on and have it for next Tuesday's workshop.
That, if you have it prepared with the wording and you presented it tomorrow, any commissioner tomorrow, or we get consensus of two tomorrow to add it on there. I mean, just like making a motion
Just
from
make it on the floor.
Right, and I think both of those are worthy of that.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's gonna hold things up a week and if it's ready to go now and just gonna sit, I would recommend we do that tomorrow.
I could do that. Thank you.
Or I guess if you did get a copy to
She already has it.
all three of us, yep, and ask that someone move it from the bench, then we can do that.
I could give you your copy now and then
Sure.
you can pass it to the other commissioners. Item that would be for the, Portland Garage. I gotta make copies, that would be the grading, but I need to.
Okay.
I didn't.
Yeah, go ahead and do that, and, I can make a motion from the floor, any of us can, but these are both definitely worthy of that. I mean, we talked about emergencies, things like that being added, these qualify for that.
Thank you, I'll be right back.
Martha, the Trumbull County Auditor, then we will, and we won't necessarily do it tomorrow, but we would have to do it next week, that Exhibit A on that resolution that we were just talking about to advance monies and then reimburse ourselves later, those are part of those capital projects, so we would have to do that for those. So you can do the resolution, but then we would still have to follow up next week with an Exhibit A, approval that you'll have to do, and that'll have to go on the agenda.
Okay.
All right?
Alexandra.
Alexandra Zeven-Jency Bush, Human Resources Director. The board president from Corsa last week, reached out to me, and asked to meet with me, from 12 to 1, which was, it's always so exciting when the board president of Corsa calls you up and wants to meet. So I obviously met with them, and I was surprised to find that there was a board member there with him present. So it wasn't just, the board president, we also had a board member, fabulous. I really enjoyed meeting him. Commissioner David, I can't remember the last name now, I'm sorry, from Guernsey County. He's actually the president, vice president of the board of Corsa. And we also had our insurance broker there. So long story short, our performance is not good for, Ohio. So we have to understand that we're a part of a county risk-sharing pool. So what that means is all other 72 counties that Corsa covers is absorbing our costs. And vice versa, right? So if they have a bad year, our costs go up too. That's how it works when you're in a group share pool. With that being said, they do not want to leave us high and dry, which we are extremely thankful for, and I want to publicly say that right here, right now. They are going to give us another year. With that comes a substantial increase in premiums, and not only that, but they will be increasing all of our deductibles. So it used to potentially be a $25,000 deductible for errors and omissions, AKA losses. They are not able to give me that number yet. Obviously, we don't get those numbers until March, but their board wanted to formally come and have the conversation with myself, and they highly, highly, highly encouraged me to reiterate this to all three commissioners, that we are going to potentially be in some trouble if we don't right this ship. They already gave me a warning in March when I first came on board. This is the second warning, which is above and beyond what our contract asked for. So, but now it's to the point where they're gonna hit our pockets because they can't keep covering us at the rates that we're paying. So we do need to anticipate an increase for it, and that's what, Martha, what I wanted to tell you. So, our premium hits 3 lines: liability, commissioner's insurance, commissioner's property insurance, and commissioner's vehicle insurance. I'm not able to tell you, but I do know that we're gonna be in the $1 million range for a premium next year. Okay? That's all they were able to tell me up front, was that we would be in the $1 million range for premium, and that our deductibles are all going to be going up. That, I don't have the numbers on yet. I apologize. So we need to budget accordingly. Thank you. You're welcome.
We still have a couple of pending lawsuits.
Well, so keep in mind, those are already, okay, so yes, we know about those, we paid the deductible. So I'm not saying that's done by any means, because of course it's still probably gonna end up, if there's a settlement, they're gonna end up paying it. However, this is, I have to stress this now, the buck has to stop here. And no pun intended. We can't have, we all have to do whatever we need to do to work together, get along, attend trainings. I don't know what it's gonna take, but we cannot afford any future lawsuits. We can't. I mean, this is the second time they've paid me a visit personally. They do trust in me. I will tell you that they were very, pleasantly surprised by what we're trying to do with reducing risk. They were very thankful for the news article the Tribune did on our course of spend to date. They were very thankful for that, because it does really show that we have a problem. And they're watching us. They watch every single meeting. They read every single news article. They know what's going on. Yeah, heavy, right?
I wonder if we, as a board, or majority of the board, can reach out to any of these judges and mandate that they impose mandatory course of training for all 3 commissioners.
We have mandatory course of training on Friday.
I understand that, but what are the penalties if someone doesn't show?
Well, nothing.
There you go.
Just not being a leader.
Well,
I need to be quite
I
honest with you.
understand that, but
Need to lead by
if
example.
somebody doesn't show, if somebody doesn't, attend, if someone doesn't do the training,
There's nothing, as you know, and I'm just gonna be honest with you, there's nothing we can do to elected officials, period. That's, over here.
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, I need you to
I
understand
mean,
that.
judges have ordered
I'm begging you.
ethics training, they've ordered everyone to go through sunshine law. I wonder if we can get a judge to order commissioners to do this.
Highly doubt it. Because guess what? We're the ones paying for it. We're only hurting
I understand.
ourselves.
But you would think if a judge knew that it was saving taxpayer money and part of his sentence or part of his rules, and one of the pending things that he asked for that or mandate that, I mean, we can ask. I'm thinking if we do a letter to all of the judges involved saying, help us.
Well, they're all encouraged and should be at the meeting, the presentation this week, which is, quite honest with you, how to get along in the workplace. So that is the presentation being put on by Official Downey on Friday. We have somebody coming from Columbus. It's free to us. It's gonna be a phenomenal training. Their, agency is wonderful. They've actually also handled many of our lawsuits. So they're, very familiar with what we need this training for. Now, to also be fair, that is the training across the board. So all 72 states are getting that training. It's not just Trumbull County. But I can't stress this enough. I sent out multiple reminders. Please come to the training on Friday. I was able to find out yesterday through Frank Hatfield, our risk management, coordinator, that unfortunately the attendance does not count if you do it virtual.
Oh.
So everybody needs to try to be in person attendance. November 3rd, send it out multiple times, 2 to 4. I know it's on a Friday. I'm so sorry.
Make sure that she puts it on the schedule.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that it's on a Friday. It wasn't our choice. That's just the time that the person was able to come and do it. So, and that does, last year alone, we got $73,000 in discounts off the $721. So really, our premium would have been $760,000. It was only $721 because we got a $72,000 credit for partaking in training. There's multiple trainings that our county partakes in that we don't even see behind the scenes. The highway engineer, sanitary, there's many engineer trainings, for specifically defensive driving, people who drive with CDL. There's many trainings going on behind the scenes. And then also, I myself take trainings through Corsa Academy. So there's a lot of things that we can do. And even just being aware, they're thankful that we're aware, that we're that we're communicating it and that we're keeping an eye on it. They're very thankful for that, so. And I'm thankful for them. I think the county should be very thankful for them and the services they provide to us.
I unfortunately attended an event Saturday, and I met a Washington County commissioner from Marietta, and he was well aware of Trumbull County when he heard who
Yeah.
I was, and, I mean, that's 3.5 hours away, and, the talk is out there that there's a problem, and they know what the problem is, and he came up and asked me right about it, you know, I said, wow, how do you know about that? And
I think
he said,
too,
oh, we all follow it, we all watch.
Well, and that's a really good point. And I think when you look at it from a factual standpoint, I'm actually not, trying to go into politics, but, I'm looking at it as facts. When we're hitting their pocketbooks, you have to understand that. We are now officially hitting their pocketbooks, every other county. I can't stress this again. We are one of 72 counties who partake in Corsa. We are affecting their rates directly. That's why people are aware of what's going on here.
Anybody else have anything for the good of Trumbull County? You with that department, or are you just a viewer, just a?
Shadowing patients today,
Fantastic,
trying to bring her over to the dark side.
very good.
Going the dark side is so much fun.
Yeah, pass these down.
Okay, we'll do a little
One
bit of ARPA
one-
stuff.
One of those goes to Mr. Smith.
Can I get some signatures real
Sure
quick,
can.
Commissioners?
Okay, we'll do ARPA stuff, anyone wants to go? It
Um,
is an official meeting anyway.
before, while you're signing that, the other thing besides ARPA, I did wanna let, you know that, we have, the state auditor did, choose Clark Schaefer Hackett as our IPA for, the audit for 23 through 27.
Okay?
And we received although we're not directly contracting, the county does have a memo of understanding with, the firm. I was sent, that memo of understanding, but it's not entirely clear who's supposed to sign it. So I've asked for some clarification. I don't know if it's me or if it's one of the commissioners. And so I asked for clarification. As soon as I have that, I'll let you guys know. It may be, if it's one of the commissioners, we may need a resolution to have it signed. I'm not sure. I'm working with Attorney General. With regard to the ARPA, just really quickly, on the yes sheet, which is the only sheet that you have this week right now, I marked the denied requests, but froze the amounts. That's what was requested of me to do last week. I also added Vernon Township requests, which had been, on the maybe but seek legal opinion sheet. You asked me to put it on the yes. It was denied, so I noted the denial, but I froze the amount, just like I did with the others. I was asked to reach out to Howland Township. I did get a reply from the administrator, but I don't have a request so far. We're still working on making sure we have the unique entity IDs for each of the organizations and vendors who are receiving ARPA funds. The land bank request, as I noted, has been submitted to the attorney as a priority request. Attorney Rogers, will look at I already noted that, broadband request after the land bank and the other gold highlighted and red highlighted requests per last week's meeting. I do have an allocated promise sheet, that has columns for the funds spent and the funds encumbered. I'm going to email that to you. There was a 20-cent error on it that I need to find. I know. I realized it 10 minutes before I came down.
Nominal threshold where it's like.
And then I had every single person in my office wanting to come in my office at that moment. Not quite every single, but it was just, so I will get that to you. I will find that 20-cent error and I will get it to you. But I do know from our munis reports that of the total allocated promise funds, $13,243,028.35 has been spent, and there's a total of $3,889 $89,294.70 in encumbered funds. There were some approvals last week at the meeting, which will increase the encumbered funds, but it hasn't quite gone through the process yet. The POs have not been added to munis. Cher has been working very hard at getting our compliance done, which is due tonight. So, that's why that hasn't been done. There's also an adjustment on that sheet for the change order on the BOE roof. I have to actually inquire of Mr. Newbrow, but he left, on that agenda item that was the change order that decreased on the heat and shoot. I don't know if that's ARPA funds or not. I'm gonna verify that from him. If that's the case, I'll also make a note of that when I.
That the money that's coming back to me in the 23.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It wasn't clear to me. With the adjustment on the allocated promised funds, we have $28,482,214.97 allocated or promised, and $9,615,078.86 unallocated, unpromised. It should be unpromised, not unpromised as well. The total on the yes sheet, including the frozen amounts as requested last week, is now $6,254,593.63. If all of those requests or funds are approved and spent, there will be $3,366,484.23 remaining. So I still owe you the new, allocated promise sheet. I've added those columns. One of the things that Mr. Newbrow did when I reached out to him to kind of make sure that I had some things correct, you have to, when you go from a spreadsheet coming from Munis to this, there's some mixing and matching when it comes to projects. I'm getting much better at that because I'm learning it all, but I still have him checking those things. One of the things he did when I sent him the spreadsheet is he kind of sent me a sort of a where we're at with each one as far as like public hearings and things like that. And I guess part of his question today, I think, was related to trying to make sure that we get everything encumbered before the end of next year. I don't really see a way to sort of add that yet to the spreadsheet. I'm kind of mulling it in my head on, whether we add a notes section or what we do, but I do want to at least do some form of reporting to you, to the board on that. I just haven't quite figured out in my head how I want to do it. But you guys will be getting those kinds of updates. On the, promised and allocated spreadsheet, the numbers, particularly with regard to expenditures and encumbrances, those are gonna change. And I'm not sure, like, over time, right? There's things that we haven't encumbered, as, Gary mentioned, there's things that we haven't encumbered in some of his projects. There's things that, and as time goes on, we will. We had some things last week that were passed as resolutions, and the change order on the Board of Elections roof, that hasn't been encumbered yet. That'll end up changing those numbers. I'm not sure how often you want us to update that, and that's probably because we don't have a majority here. I will go ahead and do an update, for next week for sure, and then, if hopefully we have two people here for the workshop, we can discuss how often you want me to do that.
Sure.
All right? If you just want it because now we have different columns that are going to change, right? So we have the columns where it's money that's actually allocated, and sometimes that changes. Good example is the TNP. That's gonna change at some point and we'll pay that out. But also when we get change orders like we did with the Board of Elections roof, where that increases the amounts, I don't know if you're gonna want me to just update it as that happens, or if you want it on a certain regular basis, but, we can talk more about that next week, right? Do you have anything, Jim?
Anybody
No, I
else?
think you've pretty well summarized it.
Transportation meeting tomorrow at 1, 2, 1? 1. After our regular meeting, it is a public meeting, and we're encouraging any users that want to participate. I did see on the news, WRT had some big issues last week of buses not showing up and 2.5-hour delays. But then I also saw people saying all I gotta do is write a check and we're good, and they'll be protesting out front tomorrow, so we'll see what happens with that. But, you know, we're working to the best solution we can get, and I think Commissioner Cantalasa said it best last week when he came up with some other options, so it's a work in progress. But I guess, meeting adjourned.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. This, can